After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Alright, let's talk power fantasy. If you don't know the term, but you're an avid anime watcher, then odds are you've at least experienced a snack bite of it. I grew up on Dragonball Z, and huge power gaps show up here and there, like many other animes. Power fantasy is somewhat a loose term ranging from just a character obtaining power and the character being overpowered. To avoid confusion when I talk about power fantasy, I'm referring to the overpowered part. Now, my first experience of a character being overpowered and a taste of the power fantasy genre was when Goku arrives on planet Namek and fought the Ginyu Force, specifically Jace, Birder, and Recoome. Recoome is taken out immediately, and Jace and Birder try their best to fight against Goku. But the power gap introduced makes Goku so fast that his movements aren't being seen by Jace and Birder. To them, he's standing still while projectiles fly through his body. A more popular instance in Dragon Ball Z that I hear a lot of people talk about online is during the Cell Saga, when Trunks shows up to fight Frieza. After just coming off the Frieza arc with Goku putting everything he can to defeat Frieza, Trunks comes in and cuts him and his father down as if they were nothing. It's shocking and fun to watch. Now, I'm using Dragon Ball Z references here because it's an easy connector for most normal people and anime watchers. A more modern example that rings true is One Punch Man. The protagonist stands at a level that is unattainable by anyone else. Most shonen animes will have power gaps. Sometimes it's the protagonist, sometimes the antagonist, and when I originally saw these moments, I always wanted it to last longer. Most shonen anime is structured to have the main character to go through lots of trial and error, defeats and victories while slowly building up power. The power fantasy genre is the opposite. We still go through lots of trial and error, but defeat is rare and usually only present in the beginning. With the many victories, power is built up quickly, with it sometimes being too quick. And looking at you, Sorcerer King, the protagonist flourishes while the antagonists are fighting the uphill battle. Okay, but maybe for you that just sounds boring, which yes, it absolutely can be. Welcome back, Sorcerer King. What separates the good from the bad is how the story uses the power fantasy to tell the rest of the story. Earlier, I brought up One Punch Man, and if anyone who watches or reads One Punch Man, you understand that a lot of the problems presented are faced by other characters. We get the struggles and growth that a shonen anime usually has from the environment around us, almost as if Saitama himself is just a side character. Now let's take a look at something lesser known, like I Built a Lifespan Club, which is a manhwa, where the protagonist is able to buy and sell time. Right from the get-go, our protagonist has power that is unrivaled. There are no other powers in this universe, and everything else about the world is as we see the world today. But the power gap with the rest of the world isn't the pivotal point of the story. The story itself follows how our young protagonist wants to shape and build his own utopia. This comes with its own challenges, like learning how to structure his utopia, the overhead required, and the science and politics involved. The story stays interesting because despite the difference in power with the rest of the world, there are trials to face. Obviously, there's more examples out there, especially if you're someone who's been enjoying Frieren, or maybe you're an Overlord enjoyer. And then there's manhwas like sololeveling, that follow the same type of progression a regular shonen manga follows. But it's different. It keeps the protagonist ahead of the curve, but not so much that the battles feel meaningless. Now, there is no better introduction to manhwas and power fantasies than sololeveling. Sololeveling is the gateway drug to manhwas. Its quality of art is top-notch, the progression of the story keeps you engaged from start to end, and the hype moments put it above the rest. The main protagonist, Jin Woo, starts at the bottom of the barrel, with the inciting incident finishing in the first 10 chapters. After he finishes his tutorial, the gap in power between the protagonist and the foes in his path follow each other decently close, with Jinwoo usually 2 to 3 steps ahead, except for a few enemies at the beginning and at the end, but don't worry, no spoilers here. Sololeveling does an amazing job at wanting the battles that matter to be close and thrilling, while characters that need to be put in their place for more personal reasons, Jinwoo reduces them to nothing. Now, the art alone is something that distinguishes sololeveling from the rest, with some of the monster designs and the panels that break through the conventional style to show the impact of what's happening is just chef's kiss. It's also a finished story, which is a plus for me. The never-ending extension after extension to a series has always been my biggest pet peeve. For once, I just want a story that is finished to actually stay finished. I understand why they don't, and kudos to the teams that can keep a series going while still maintaining its interest. I do just have a preference for more finished stories. It's a great read, and if you're not sure about the series in total, check out the anime. As of making this video, it stays in line with how the manhwa plays out, and a new episode is being released every Saturday. Alright, that's the whole power fantasy thing. The next part is manhwas, which based on the comic could also be referred to as a webtoon, but to keep things simple, I'm just going to refer to Korean comics as manhwas. The most popular genres right now for manhwas are romance and action/adventure, with honorable mentions to its horror section. And if you've never heard of a manhwa, it's like a manga. And if you don't know what a manga is, it's a comic. Western comics read from left to right, mangas read from right to left, and manhwas read from left to right, but vertically. It's a unique way of reading things, and I personally shrugged manhwas off for a long time because the format style was at first just weird. But I eventually gave in and explored the various kinds of art styles and story that manhwas provide. Now, just earlier I said one of the popular genres were action/adventure, which it is, and the foundation for most of those stories is power fantasy. So what I'm saying is, if you enjoy the idea of power fantasies, then definitely check out manhwas. They will give you the same fix you get from the power gaps that happen in other media, but for longer. And for the end, let's talk about some recommendations. We're going to be doing speed rounds. While I'd love to spend all day gushing about each manhwa, we should try and keep this short and concise. First up, SSS-Class Suicide Hunter. This one is a unique idea. When someone kills the protagonist, he's allowed to copy one of their skills, then returns 24 hours before his death. The art is so-so, but it's a cool concept and the story handles itself well. Omniscient Reader, the protagonist reads a book and now the world plunges into the story that book was about, but he knows the rules and secrets of this world and is granted special privileges for doing so. It has good art, good story, feels smart, but sometimes stretches. I am the Sorcerer King. I made fun of this one earlier, but this one is probably as power fantasy as it could get. The ideas and concepts are cool and the art looks great. Just expect this dude to completely steamroll any problems or adversaries. Overgeared, exactly as it sounds. The protagonist obtains the legendary blacksmith class that allows him to make overpowered gear. Honestly, one of my favorites, a great blend of story and world building, while also providing lots of action and adventure. It's well balanced, amazing art, and overall just good. Legendary Moonlight Sculptor. Much like Overgeared, the protagonist obtains the Moonlight Sculptor class, but this one leans more on the action side. Overgeared is like 50-50 on blacksmithing and action. Moonlight Sculptor is like 70 action, 30 sculpting. It's got great art and story, and the characters really feel alive. This one is Kill the Hero. More edgy and leans on the whole I'm cool, now watch me be cool. An actual unique art style, which I am a sucker for. The story and plot are par for the course for the usual power fantasy genre. And that's it for the speed round. For the ultra speed round, and those interested in romance, why Raeliana ended up at the Duke's mansion. True beauty, villainess turns the hourglass, under the oak tree, Amina and the lamp. I got this list from a trusted and verified source. Trust me. And for the horror, I would recommend Sweet Home. It was made into a Netflix series, so you could watch it to see if it might be an interest, but the manhwa truly does this series justice. A group of individuals are stuck in their housing complex while monsters roam outside and try to get in. It's thrilling, twisted, and the art style is unique and really grows on you. And then there's Bastard. Another unique art style. This one leans on more of a dreadful and depressing atmosphere. The protagonist is a kid who hates his father, and his father is a serial killer. He's stuck in a hard place trying to figure out how to escape the life his father has structured for him. The story is also pretty short, only 94 chapters, something you could finish in a day if it really piques your interest. And with that said, if you don't get sucked into the whole power fantasy thing or manhwas, that's okay. I at least recommend anyone who hasn't to check out Solo Leveling, whether it be the anime or the manhwa. And, as they say, bye!